Hi, Homeworthy. My name is Caroline Kopp, and this is my home in Westport, Connecticut. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. My name is Caroline Kopp. Welcome to my home in Westport, Connecticut. I am from Wyoming. I ended up coming to the East Coast almost 25 years ago to attend Parsons School of Design. And then from there, I had great luck finding amazing positions working for incredible interior designers at the top of their game in New York. Then ultimately, once I got married and we started having kids, we moved to Westport, Connecticut. And I just love it here. It's an amazing community. It's beautiful. And there's a very rich tradition of architecture and like a pride of home that you see here, as well as quality craftsmanship. So it's a really, really nice place to practice interior design because there's a lot of appreciation for all of the different elements that come together for a beautiful home. So we're here in my entry hall. This is the first room that you come in from the front door. And it's just very, clean and kind of spare. I like a spare look. I don't like clutter, but there's definitely a room here to do more layers as we collect things. In this room, you can see I love plants. I love styling with plants. I think it gives such a great life to a room. It gives you the oxygen, and people always shy away from getting plants because they're scared that they're going to die. And I've actually had some of these in here for over a year, and they're flourishing. So don't feel afraid to get plants. And if your plants die, just go buy another one. It's okay. It's not that you're a bad person. Over here, I have, this is a teak. It sort of looks like an altar. It's like based on an Asian shape. And then you can see it's like eclectic here. I have this mirror that I've had since my days working at Arrow. This is kind of a memento of my first real design job because I bought it when from the store and design studio where I was working, and my boss designed this mirror. So that is something that I've carried with me from place to place to place. And I actually have kind of an obsession with mirrors. I love all different types of mirror. I like antique mirror, I like clear mirror. You really can't go wrong having a mirror, and it does really do all of the things that they say of kind of expanding the space and bouncing light back and forth. Then over here, this is a little painting that I bought, and it looks just like a town that my husband and I rode bikes to once in France, Gourd. And I just love that, it's a little bit modern. It's like a little bit cubist. This stool is interesting. I got it at this great resource here in Norwalk. It's called Fairfield County Antique and Design Center. And so it is a fabulous place to go vintage shopping. And this, I assume, is kind of from the 80s. It has like a little bit of an 80s vibe. As you come in this front space, then you just have, on one side you have this living room, and on the other side the dining room, and they're both in blue. And so this was something that I kind of thought about a lot, and I went through so many iterations with my paint schedule and a lot of testing of colors. And I love color, but there were some things that I started doing that when I saw them starting to go up, I was like, this looks like a crazy person lives here. So I had to dial it back a little bit. But yeah, with paint, absolutely you want to do a lot of testing because you just don't really know what you're going to get until it's up. So we looked at a lot of different colors for these rooms. In this room, this paint color is actually customized. It's on the lightest end of the Benjamin Moore fan deck, but most of those colors that are actually not that light as you think they are, they end up being like a very kind of fluorescent baby color. So in this case, we diluted it with white paint. So that's a great trick when you're trying to dial in a tone, is you can ask the paint store to put in 25% or 50% white to kind of like move the hue a little bit. So in here we did this beautiful mantle that I just love so much. much. This was it was like a risky thing because, just like with everything else in the house, I was trying to get the best price and, work with the right people, but not like spend too much. And so the style of this mantle was something that I had kind of had, tucked away. And I found this vendor in Ireland, and so they actually hand carved this. And you can see when you come up close that it doesn't have like the really perfect lines as like a machine-made mantle would. And so you could see like the little chiseling, and it's all done by hand, and then they ship it in a box in kind of pieces that go together. But I really love having this in the room, and you can see when you look at the room straight on, it's like totally symmetrical, that this is right in the middle, and then on one side you have a window, on the other side a matching door, and it's all meant to be super symmetrical, which is a design principle that I very much ascribe to, and I love symmetry and I love balance. So this room is meant to be a grown-up space that is focused on feeling, at your best, feeling at ease, having a little feeling of almost being like in a hotel or being somewhere else, not just being in the total routine, humdrum day-to-day life. And I do come here in the morning to drink coffee. I love to have a few friends sitting in here and just like talking and having cocktails. It's really set up to be comfortable and have the focus be on either just like peace and quiet or have it be on conversation. I love France. That's like definitely one of my favorite countries, and I love just that aesthetic that's like a little bit feminine, a little softer, but very refined and structured at the same time. So one example of how I brought that in here would be these curtains. This rod is called a French pole, which is where it goes across and it curves back and goes back to the wall. It doesn't have finials. These curtains are chintz, and it's just a cotton. It just flows with the room. So you get, curtains do a lot of things in your room that they kind of give you a very finished look, a very polished. They add softness and this kind of elegance and a sense of luxury, which obviously I'm going for in here with that whole vibe of like being somewhere better than the everyday. Again, in this French influence, it's very typical to have a large mirror over your mantle. In this case, I did like a little bit modernized version of that. This is a new mirror that has the curved corners. It's got a little modernity that way, but this surface is really interesting. It's called a glomise. And so that is when you take a piece of glass and you apply metal leaf to the back of it. So when you get up close, you can see all the little squares of silver leaf, and then they've, antiqued it coming down. So the way that is done, which we have many other examples of here, is by applying acid, like an acid wash to kind of age. My original inspiration for this room was a room that was like way, way, way bigger than this one. Obviously, working in a space, I want to have a lot of flow. So that is something that I spend a lot of time on, doing the actual layout and kind of the relationship of everything to each other. Something that I love to have in a room that I think gives it like a really good sense of kind of grandeur is an oversized coffee table. This one, I just love this piece. I got it off of Cherish, and it's brass, it's vintage, and I eventually found out that this is actually a Carl Springer table. And so I was lucky that I picked it up when it didn't have the brand on it, but I had it, once I realized who it was by, then I had it authenticated, and so that was kind of fun and exciting. But again, this is sort of like a 70s shape, so bringing it in this room, that is also a very French thing to do, that you could have these like old things and layers of old things and kind of like old-fashioned elements, but then adding on something that's very sleek and modern and kind of sexy. Then you're kind of bringing it full circle and having that modern vibe. Something else that I always do that's like kind of a basic principle of furniture is that you want to have a place where someone can put a drink down wherever they're sitting. So you need to have a table that's close enough for that. That was great, was I was kind of finding that I didn't have enough surfaces to put out little collections that I have and things like that. We had these shelves made to fit here, and it's a great place to just put kind of like little things that I like. I have a little collection of like Murano glassware. I love finding little artwork. I also love of boxes. So it's just a place that I can display small things kind of all together. These chairs, I just love this shape. These are done in a striped velvet that in my career, one of my first big boss was Thomas O'Brien, and he's an unbelievable, multi-hyphenate designer who taught me so many things working in that office. And something that they used very frequently was a velvet like this that has, like the pile coming out and then the stripe is flat, like canvas backing. And so he would often do one that was kind of like neutrals, like grays and like a cognac color. But this fabric was kind of like sentimental to me in a way because it reminded me so much of the time I spent working there. And all the different chairs that we put it on. So when I saw this, I was like, that's great. And again, I love blue and it's tonal. These chairs have a lot of really nice little details. There's a grosgrain ribbon right here with the nail heads on top. That's something else that came that, I learned working in that office was all these little ways to use trim and kind of to just make things like that little bit more fancy. So there's a few motifs that I always gravitate towards. One of them is clouds and then another one is water. I think it's just a very restful, peaceful thing. And it's in a way it's kind of abstract because it's just shapes, kind of moving. And obviously there's always going to be blue usually in any depiction of water or clouds. This is from a company, Wendover, that does, they're a place where you can order like 100 of the same picture to go in hotels and stuff like that. But they're really good to work with because you can also order whatever size you want on the things. And I am a big believer in like a big, really substantial piece of art as like a way to create a moment on a wall. When we moved to Connecticut, we didn't know much about it and we kind of just tested it out renting in Westport, and we did love the town. So then we spent some time looking around and we kind of convinced ourselves that we wouldn't be able to find a house that had everything that we needed, so we wanted to build something. And obviously for me, being an interior designer for 20 years at that point, I had a huge amount of inspiration and kind of like dreams that I'd been having of what my home would be like. So fortunate as a designer to have the opportunity to actually create what I want, to start all the way at the beginning with the floor plan and the layout and planning all the windows and all that kind of thing that makes it what it is. And I love architecture. I'm not an architect, but I love all of that element of spatial planning and, making sure that there's a lot of symmetry. We worked with a really great architect, Michael Smith, who he and I really had similar philosophies around how things are supposed to look. And he's a great traditional architect working here in Norwalk. All right, so you can follow me into the dining room. So you can see this room has a very different vibe. It's got this deep, rich peacock blue that I love. People always admire this paint color. It's a great color for night to be in here with like low lights and candlelight. It's very like cozy. And it is a beautiful backdrop to art too. We have, some different things that we've collected in here. This artwork is actually from a piece that's in a museum in my hometown in Cody, Wyoming. My husband wanted this for a long time, and finally when I put it all together for him, I just love how it looks here. And it's got a really cool metaphor that this cowboy is running away from his shadow, and the piece is called Flight from Destiny. So it's kind of this concept that all of us try to get away from the negative side of us or the dark side or whatever, our fears. And you actually can't really get away from them because it's attached to you and it's your shadow. So the furniture is very spare. This table is like an Art Deco inspired shape. And it's a great table and it can expand longer than this. So we can have tons of people in here. And then the chairs I got to do in different fabrics. So like if you look like the inside of this is a Pierre Frey outdoor fabric, which means that it's very like cleanable. And then I did this bottle green leather on the seat. And so leather's great for a dining seat because if you spill or whatever, it's like totally impervious. And then I did some contrasting things on the back. This fabric is by Fortuny. I love camo, and so it was just like a little small camo moment of this beautiful Italian print. In the dining room, when I'm not, actively using it, I like to do some kind of like a sculptural, like little arrangement of objects. And so just some things that I've collected of like this green mirror ball. These are a little bit like an Art Nouveau look of the candlestick. And I love using either yellow or orange flowers in here that they, pop with this color. I am half Cuban. My mother is a Cuban immigrant, and Cubans do cockfighting. And so the rooster is kind of like an animal that is very Cuban. In between New York and Westport, we lived in Tampa, where my mother lives, for a little over a year. And this was in a bar where they had, art for sale that you could buy on the wall, and we kept on seeing it, and we would sort of be like, yeah, we should get that. It works really well, this contrast of the yellow on the blue background. And so yeah, that's like a little bit of my heritage there. This light is it's a reproduction of a 1960s style. The brand was called Still Novo, and they are unbelievably influential in lighting because so many modern pieces are like, taken from the styles that they originally did. What is really great about this light that I think is such a excellent type of lighting is when you have some kind of bowl or shape like this that is bouncing the light up to the ceiling. And so that just gives you this very diffuse light. It's very like a soft glow, and there's no glare. There's no like bulbs kind of shining at you. So this works really well in the evening, and yeah, it has like a little modern, playful, kind of poppy style to it. So in this room, it ended up being kind of the same concept as the other room, that I got this beautiful chintz that is the same tone as the walls. And I did this a little differently, that this curtain has a puddle, so it's like a little bit romantic, and it kind of occupies more square footage. It sort of like takes up more space in the room. And then matching holes to the one in the living room, but this is in satin brass that goes with the light. Something else I would point out in this room is the paint. The trim is in a high gloss, but it's the same paint color. And so that's something, interesting that you can do with paints, of using the same color in different finishes, and it changes the hue just ever so slightly, the different formula. So we're gonna head into the butler's pantry. This connects the dining room and the kitchen, so it's a very functional room, and I'll show you what's going on in here. So this comes in from the dining room and then goes to the kitchen. So you kind of have this connection point of where the food's coming from. We set this up to be a place that we can store a lot of things. I have this whole cabinet here where we have our glassware. There's a lot of nice drawers for like extra silverware. I did a stainless steel counter, thinking that this was going to be a place where people made drinks. No one ever does. We always do it on the kitchen island, but it's ultimately a place where I can kind of like put out things that I like and little art that I find. One of my favorite details is this glass. This is antique glass that was made for this project, and it was really kind of a big deal because the panels are so large. But a wonderful glass vendor that I work with here, she had it made, and someone actually like did it all by hand to a specification with like samples and things like that. So that obviously kind of like amplifies everything that's going on with the gloss paint and the wallpaper. I like to have, different ferns and like different plant matter and stuff like that. I have it all around in the house, including here. And then just different things that I collect for like arranging flowers, vases, containers, and styling pieces that kind of move around or come in and out depending on what's going on. Over here, we have this whole cabinet that it's got contrasting color in the back that's like a a dark turquoise. And the cabinetry in here was based on like an English style that's like an old-fashioned style. So you'll notice that there's no toe kick here. It goes straight down to the floor. And then just with the hardware, like this little latch, the wine fridge is integrated in here, so you kind of don't see it. And then this door here leads to the real pantry that we can store like all of our extra food and things like that. So this cabinet is great for glassware and things that are kind of fragile that you might want to put away. So we have, it's a little disorganized right now, but we have different kinds of wine glasses, different vases that I arrange flowers in, and then kind of different styling objects that could be like, these are some really pretty candlesticks that I bought for Thanksgiving once. I love stuff like this. Like this is like a vintage little, I don't know, I think it was like a prize, like a trophy or something. I picked this up in Hudson, New York. I pull from this when I'm doing different styling and flower arrangements and doing tabletop and stuff like that. So this leads into the kitchen, so we'll head in there. So you can see this room is all done in whites. This is Benjamin Moore White Dove. That's like a very classic choice that designers have been using forever, but it has a lot of other things going on in the finishes. So we have Belgian bluestone. The floor is like a black limestone that it's got like fossils and things in it. This is a really functional floor for us because it doesn't, it kind of hides dirt and crumbs and things like that. And I did one whole wall of white cabinetry. Then I have, as my base cabinets, I have this amazing limed oak finish. This was a whole thing to get this done, but the guy who ended up coming in to do it really knew what he was doing, and I just love this finish. And obviously we have different cabinetry styles also happening here. So the white cabinets are like one profile, the limed oak cabinets are another profile, and then this island, which is in a birch that's kind of like a honey or like a chestnut color, has a third cabinet style. So there's a lot of kind of subtle details in the cabinetry, but obviously in a kitchen, that's what you're working with instead of furniture. So this oven is Le Conche. This is a French company. It's actually like a super old company that has been in business for I think like 300 years, and the only time they closed was during the French Revolution. So all of the stuff they do is very analog. There's no like computer panels, although you can order induction stoves from them. So they do a great product that is kind of modular almost, that you could order a stove like this that's like 20 feet long, and it has like warming drawers and all these different ovens, all these different cooktops. You can customize it when you order it. It's made to order for you. So mine is kind of considered the beginner model. They consider black to be the beginner color because this stove, you can order it in literally any color that you want. When I went to their showroom, there was 2 pink, like baby pink stoves that someone had ordered. You can get green ones, blue ones, white ones. I think the white, like the off-white, the taupey cream, is a really cool choice. But they say that most people start with the black, that's also a little bit less expensive. And then they kind of graduate into the colors. All of these amazing chefs have these. Ina Garten, Jean-Georges von Durichten has one. Padma Lakshmi, her stove was there at the showroom when I toured with them. And yeah, it's just like has like obviously a very traditional look, and it's got the brass and the stainless steel and the enamel all happening together. And something else that is really functional about this for us is this surface here. It's cast iron, and this is called a French plate. So underneath here there is a burner that's like the biggest burner on the stove, but we literally never use that, but you use it almost like as your counter. So when you take something hot, you can put it right here, and it's like the perfect place to put something hot. But if I was actually a chef that could operate like 8 things at once, you could have you could have like your chocolate melting here, and then you could have like all these other pots like going at the same time. So some other details here that are really subtle. The stone vendor that I worked with was this amazing woman who was like so passionate and so knowledgeable about stone. So she gave me this amazing idea that I'd never heard of, which was to do polished stone on the backsplash and honed on the counter. So when you take the same piece of stone, you polish some of it and you hone some of it, you can see the difference that honing kind of gives you this like powdery, muted tones, where the polish brings the color more prominently, and it makes it, obviously it's like more like a glossy surface. So, and it's more cleanable. So that was a really good idea that she gave me on the backsplash. We did this hood that I was super happy how it came out. And this is lime washed. So that's a very, something very subtle that may not come across on camera, but this is more like a powdery, earthy surface on the hood, again, kind of layering in all these different finishes. The island, it's supposed to be the concept of like a piece of furniture. There's some little details here with the way these columns come up, and they're like, proud of this surface here. That's a little detail that I took from another amazing designer, Stephen Gambrell, that I really admire. In his kitchens are amazing. So, and then, you can see this has like a little bit more rounded edges and surfaces, and the edge detail on the countertop is different from the eased edge that we did around. So hidden in here are most of my appliances. These doors open like this, and there's like a toaster / coffee station right there. This is the fridge. So we really hid everything. The only appliance that you can see is that stove. And I also obviously like very clean surfaces and not having like stuff everywhere. So some of our coffee makers and stuff like that are back in our other little pantry back there, or some of our other appliances here. But the way this kitchen is designed, it's not meant to have like too much stuff on the counters. Or on this side, you can see these cabinets go all the way down to the counter. This is another kind of like English, thing that we incorporated. And then all of this is done super symmetrically, that you have like the same size drawers, then the same size smaller. This sink was something that my husband saw when we were out shopping for plumbing, and he really liked it. This type of sink is called a galley sink, and the idea is that you would be like literally chopping vegetables here and sweep them in. It comes with like accessories like this colander that you could theoretically wash lettuce in that. And then it's got these little like sliding surfaces. So we mostly use this as like a drying rack to put stuff away that's drying. But I do really believe in a big, deep sink. Having a sink that's like extra deep really makes a difference when you're kind of, clearing away dirty dishes and stuff like that. You put them in the sink and they kind of disappear if the sink is super deep. So I always recommend that to clients, to get one that's on the deeper side for that reason. It just kind of feels cleaner when it's full. These pendants, I was down at High Point at the furniture market, and I saw these. It's a store called Bobo Interesting Objects, I want to say it's called. The scale ended up working perfect, and just the way they light up I really love. The most challenging part of this was the engineering, and Westport has very, very strict codes around slopes and things like that, and so that was truly like a mind melter trying to do that. However, because we had that really steep slope that the lot kind of goes like this and then it just falls away and goes down, that was very, very tricky to get it passed with the town. But it's also what makes the back of our house really dramatic, and it has a lot of it has drama, because we have like our deck coming out and then far below the pool, and we have a lot of stairs that were involved with that. So it ended up being really, really cool, but that was a part that was painful to deal with and have to do many iterations and redrawings and hiring all sorts of different experts to get that done. But now we love it, and it's a great place to entertain, and people love coming to our pool in the summer. And then inside the house, I think both the kitchen and this living room were rooms that I thought so much about. A kitchen obviously is a very complicated room. It has all different functions that need to be fulfilled. You have a lot of appliances. You have all the different trades coming in there, and it's obviously the heart of the home and where people always gather around when we entertain, they're all clustered around the island. So our kitchen came out perfect. It's something that I visualize so much in my mind, trying to put it together and think about, how the different finishes were going to play off each other. And yeah, it's very classic. I love just like very clean but classic looks and within traditional architecture. So we definitely got that. That worked out perfectly. Then this room that we're in is definitely my favorite room. Again, I was super lucky that my husband did not interfere with me trying to do something that's very feminine, very pastel. I love blue. There's a lot of different blues in the house, as you'll see. And this one ended up being this like monochromatic kind of super pale robin's egg blue. And I love sitting in here. I love when I can pull people in here to have some drinks, and I definitely use it. I have coffee in here. I read. We use all of the house. So that's something that I'm very happy that we don't have rooms that are just kind of like stale and no one ever sets foot in them. We actually do use them all, and we love to entertain. So whether it's, a couple friends or a big party, we love having them here, and the house is really organized for being able to do that in different settings and different kind of formats. So that's very fulfilling for me. So behind the kitchen, we have the mudroom. So this connects to the kitchen there, and then on that side it connects to the garage. So this was planned very intentionally to be in this location because it's very functional as kind of like a drop zone, and unloading groceries or bringing things in, you go straight in there. I also love having this extra space for like Amazon boxes or things that need to go away. You could kind of have them staged here. So in here we did this really pretty green color. We have shiplap on the walls and a little ledge here. You can see I did a gallery wall here along the top and then painted out the crown in the same green. This floor, I really like this floor, and it's also super functional because it's porcelain, but it looks like wood, and it's in this pattern with an X. You'll see in a lot of the rooms that have tile on the floor, there's all sorts of different geometric patterns going on. I love blue, but I also love green. And this green, it's called Colonial Verdigris. And it has it's very rich, and it has like some yellow in it. So it's a warm green that looks great with wood. And so also painting the room this way with having the white dove up top, and this, leads up a staircase where the walls are white dove. So that's a nice way to kind of cut the intensity of a really strong color that you could kind of balance it out with some white on the top. It also draws attention to the millwork because it's only the wood that's painted out in the green, and then the walls are in the white. On the lights, I did some brass sconces that you could see are like a modern shape with like a nice glow, a soft glow. And then the pendants here are vintage from a factory, and so they're kind of like beat up and they have the shade. And so that's something, bringing something old into the room, alongside some of our different collections of, art that represents places that we've traveled or kind of like family history. There's some Wyoming things up here. And this also is a second doorway into the house. There's a side door. This door, this is like more of a technical thing, but this is something I would recommend to anyone. It's a keypad. And you can see I painted this door blue, so our side door is blue. And then this way we never have to have a key. We can just use this little thing to lock up. So that's really good. And now the kids know the code too. Now we're going to go upstairs to my primary bedroom. So here we are in my bedroom. This hallway coming in from, the main hallway, this is like our little suite here. This was all planned as a way that there could be a lot of privacy, and also if someone has to leave on a business trip in the morning, that he could come out of here, and then there's doors to shut it off so that you can prevent noise from traveling around. And then this hallway has this beautiful paneling, and this is all done in high gloss, slightly different tone from this. But I love that kind of transition where you're coming from a space that's like more tight and, lower ceiling, and then you come out into the space where the volume blows up, that it kind of gives you a little more drama that way. So in this space, I wanted to have high ceilings and, some drama in the ceiling height. So we figured that out and have a really nice, huge, beautiful window looking out to the back. One of the really special pieces in this room is the chandelier. This is an antique that came out of a hotel. It's got rock crystals and it's just really pretty. It's actually gotten kind of tarnished. It's silver. In this room, we wanted something really calm and soothing and peaceful. So this paint color is sea pearl. It worked really well. It's just kind of like soft and really neutral, but it still has some warmth. So again, with the theme of having traditional elements mixed with modern, I have a very modern bed that's got curves and, it's like a very simple plain form. It's a kind of oyster velvet. And I love this type of bed that has the little wings that come here. It's called the shelter style. So it just kind of like comes around you. These nightstands are new, but they again have those sort of like deco inspirations. And then over here, this is a very special piece to me that was my great grandmother's that I was able to get and then have it redone with new fabric and a new, some little tape trim details, but that's really nice, if you have an heirloom that you can kind of like zhuzh it up and freshen it up and make it nicer and use that again in your house. I love being able to do that. These curtains are great because this rod is motorized, and when you have like a really big window like this, opening and closing the curtains, it's sort of like a whole project. And so I like to recommend doing a motorized rod if you have a situation like that. Or I think they really lend themselves to bedrooms because, all of us are obviously rushing around in the morning. And if you have to manually open and close every curtain, then you just won't do it. And you'll just kind of leave them shut and have your room be dark all the time. And so with a motorized rod, you could just use a remote control and it opens and closes it for you. It's definitely a luxury, but I do think I'm glad that we invested in that. This room has an unusual crown detail if you look, that since obviously the ceiling is sloped, this crown, it doesn't attach onto the ceiling. It forms like a little step around. So all of this detailing was like very carefully studied, of course. I ended up getting this mirror when we were photographing the house for a local publication here at home, and I needed to kind of like finish up any blank areas. And this is like a bullseye mirror. It's a federal style that normally this mirror would have been in black and gold, and it's sort of like a colonial looking thing. But somewhere along the way, someone had painted it with gesso, and so that makes it more like modern and cleaned up. And it's just fun because it really reflects the whole room when you're standing here. And, I like mirrors, so now I have a convex one in my collection. I would say, as far as, a primary bedroom, that people most gravitate towards something that's soothing and calming. There have been times I've put together more colorful schemes that we end up not moving forward with because it just doesn't, set the tone for you to be rested and kind of calm. And your bedroom obviously is a place, it's like really the retreat where you can just be alone and be most yourself and just have peace. And so I think it makes a lot of sense to do it in that kind of a palette. This rug that I found, I was so happy when I was able to find this because it was like the perfect size. And then, it's got the traditional motifs on the rug, but they're all done in these muted, more modern, soft colors. That was a good find. These windows are super nice. The company is called Norwood, and it was recommended to us by our architect. And so this type of window is called the casement window, that you turn this and then it pushes out like that. And they actually have this really unusual feature that the screen comes down that way. And so that's kind of cool. But yeah, this type of window is, it's very elegant and beautiful. So then we have a room that, it's not to everyone's taste but this is one of my favorite colors. I absolutely love this color. And this is my dressing room. This is like my little private place, and one of my favorite colors is periwinkle, so I found this amazing blue for the cabinetry, and it was definitely a risk, and it's also something that I thought about not doing. I thought about maybe doing this gray tone that is on the walls on the cabinetry, but I remember when I saw it going up and the painter was working on it, and I was just like, wow, that is truly me to have this color. And obviously this is a room I come in every single day to get dressed, so I'm not like super into clothes, so I didn't emphasize so much clothing storage, but I have like these 2 towers here that I have shoes in there, and then there's sort of like folded stuff there, and then in between is this mirror that I set up like very much as kind of like Hollywood style, or like a store style, that you actually get a lot of light on you when you're trying to look at yourself. And then likewise inside the cabinetry there's strip lighting, so those of us who are a little bit older know that you stop being able to see if something is like navy or black, and so with this light I can see exactly what I'm looking at, or like if something is like not presentable to be worn. And then there's like different little, collectibles and things. Like this is a piece of art that my husband has always hated, but this is something that I picked up in my college days that just like really reminds me of that time, and it was like such a distinct style of where I was living in California. And then I have these different kind of like pieces of hardware that I got in my travels that, it's just for fun and for decoration. But this is an amazing thing that is really nice to have. This is called a valet rod, and so you see it like telescopes in and out of the wall. So this is a thing that when you're planning an outfit, or if you're like going to be traveling, then you can kind of pull it out and start hanging stuff that you want to have there. It's super useful. On this wall I did something different, that I wanted it to be something modern. And also at that point we were like at the end of our construction, which by that point you're like so sucked dry of all your money and patience, and like you just don't have anything left to give. And I needed something fast too, and I don't want to spend money, so this is actually IKEA. These drawers are like the kitchen, I forgot what exactly it's called, but they come as like a white melamine, and it's all modular that you can like choose different sizes. So then I made a little bit of a mistake that I found this wrapping paper that was really beautiful, but wrapping paper is not meant to have sun on it the way wallpaper is, and so it got kind of washed out, but it has this cool kind of like astrology theme, gold like moons and stars on it. And then I put these nice handles and had this top made for it that's mirror. And so this is like a very glamorous surface to have like makeup on and jewelry. And then of course I have all my little photos of my loved ones, my grandmothers. And then on the wall here, these sconces are like so beautiful, and I love the light. These are by Kelly Wearstler. And so each of these shades is alabaster. That's, a real stone. So it's like each one is one of a kind of how the veining is. In a perfect world, when you're planning a mirror wall with sconces, you really want to choose your mirror up front and plan it all out at the same time. In this case, I had already had these sconces installed, and then I was like racking my brain trying to figure out what mirror should be, but then I found this one and it ended up being perfect, that it kind of like sits in there really nicely. And so yeah, this is like my fun little makeup and like hair area. And then this light fixture is super cute. This is like a reproduction of a 60s style Murano kind of disc chandelier. And it's just really fun with the colors in here, because obviously I like pastels, but you just don't get to use them appropriately that many places. But a room like this is obviously a woman's room, and we use it so much that my kids come in here and like lay on the floor and like bother me when I'm trying to get ready. And it's like more than a closet, that it is actually a room that I just like come in, or sometimes I end up in here with a friend, just like talking or whatever. So back down this hallway is our bathroom. So this is our master bathroom, and in this room you definitely see the whole deco moment happening. One of my really favorite details is this panel on the tub. So the fabricator that we worked with on the marble was super skilled. He took the marble slab and then laminated it onto some quartz for extra strength, and then carved this whole panel out. So you see it's like recessed there. All of the fittings are very, traditional 20s style plumbing. And that was actually a period when plumbing became a thing that everyone had. So it's like kind of historical. Mirror is gorgeous. It is silver leaf. So this was made to order, obviously, for this room. And it's got this like soft swoop that comes across, and then you can see all the metal leafing that's hand applied. The sconces, these are really good sconces that are LED. I really like the light quality, but again, they have that Art Deco kind of shape. And then the vanity was inspired by a Belgian bathroom that I saw, that they had this thing that it was sort of like a floating vanity, but it was traditional. And so you see we have these legs that the legs are not structural, but it's just like a design detail. And then another thing that really has worked out well in this bathroom is this counter. And this is a surface that you don't see that often. It's glass. It's like a milk glass. It's called nano glass. So this is really good for a bathroom because obviously glass does not stain. It doesn't get marked by things, so you could have chemicals or whatever kind of beauty products on this and it's fine. And then we have great storage. This medicine cabinet, it's very deep. It has a mirror in the back, and then it has like adjustable glass shelves. And then in this cabinet, this one's actually recessed back into this space, and so it has tons of depth. So we have, storage that we could need there. This floor was something that I had seen that, again, my tile saleswoman helped me with to put these together. But you can see how it's kind of like almost like an MC Escher effect of being deep, like these holes that are actually three-dimensional. Of course, the floor is flat, but it's another geometric floor that I have in the house. And then the other important detail is the trim is all out of the same stone as the bathtub. And so this wraps around all the door jambs and the baseboard and goes all the way around the room. And then we put in this nice pretty window as like the backdrop to the tub. And you can see again the whole like symmetry, that this all lines up perfectly with the center of this, and then it's like equal on both sides, and it's just very pleasing and harmonious to the eye. It feels good when you see that. Yeah, this home is a very, special place for us. It definitely represents accomplishment that is a culmination of, all of the work that my husband and I have done leading up to this. This is the first home that we ever owned. That's something that I think we're both very proud of. And then, as far as our family, this is our kids were not born here, but this is the only home that they remember. And so it's a place that we all feel, comfortable, and kind of like it's our home base in every way, of whether this is like the community that our kids are being raised in, it's the school that we go to, it's our neighbors, and all of our friends that are around this home that kind of make the feeling of what it is. It also kind of represents like this truly adult chapter of our life where, up until we lived here, we were way more, in a different phase, that we're renters. We didn't have any obligation really. We could like move here or move there. We didn't have that much attachment to the houses that we lived in, And so this is very different, that it's like our place that, you know, we really identify with, and that it's obviously all customized to what we wanted and expresses our taste all the way from the top to the bottom. Being able to actually do many rooms that are all exactly what I wanted from a creative standpoint and a self-expression standpoint, that's like the only thing that you ever really wanted as a designer, is to create these beautiful rooms where your vision is really coming to life. So super exciting from a creative point of view.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.